Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, the witnesses, for their patience. Obviously, this has been a long day. It's been a long week, but it is of critical importance that we are having this discussion. I applaud the President for including Congress in this debate. I agree that we have to show resolve, and we have to show that we're committed to our allies. But my constituents and I still need to be convinced, not that atrocities have occurred. We all are unanimous in our condemnation of what Assad has done. But we need to know exactly what our goals are and our objectives, because this is increasingly a complex situation. And to that extent, let me ask Secretary Hagel a question. When I was home in Sacramento County this past weekend, people were stopping me in the grocery stores. My neighbors were pulling me aside on the street. I think all of my colleagues have been inundated with phone calls, emails, and almost unanimously, people don't want us to strike Syria. They're fatigued. And I answer to these people. These are the people that I represent. So my question, Secretary Hagel, is what can I tell my constituents about why these strikes are in our national security interests, why these strikes matter to these folks that are struggling every day? How do I effectively communicate what the plan is?
I understand your question clearly, and I understand the responsibility you have to give those you represent a clear answer. So that's partly why the President wanted to bring this before the Congress, so the American people would have an opportunity to hear all the questions and get the answers. My answer to you is, for you to give to your constituents, is it's clearly in the interest of our country, because as we have noted here today, the use of chemical weapons, if it becomes a norm, if it becomes a standard, if it becomes an art of war, a method of war that's accepted by the world, which has not been for the last 100 years, it jeopardizes our country, our homeland, our troops, our people all over the world. When you look at the nations that have stockpiles, that one nation in particular, Syria, that we're talking about, has used those. North Korea has them. What about Iran's threat to all of us? So this is in the interest of the United States, aside from the international norm.
So listening to those concerns, listening to what the strategic goals are here and why it is in the national security interest, again, listening to my constituents, they understand the importance of maintaining our credibility and our standing as a nation. But again, Syria seems so far away from them. These issues seem very far away from them. And as we discuss it here, we're sending a message to Assad, but we're not securing chemical stockpiles. We're not, and I think General Dempsey, you've in your testimony in the past have indicated how difficult it would be to secure chemical stockpiles, to make sure that they don't fall in the hands of terrorists, of individuals who would want to use them against us here on our own homeland as well as with our allies. If that's not our stated goal, if our stated goal is not to make sure that we're securing our homeland, that we're making sure our neighborhoods are safe, it's a very difficult goal to articulate to my constituents.
Let me just remind us of something which has been noted earlier here in this hearing. Next week we are going to celebrate, not celebrate, we are going to remember what happened in this country on that September day in 2001, and we all recall where we were. How many of my constituents during those days in Nebraska, or your constituents in California, ever thought about or even knew where Afghanistan was? Or had ever even heard of this organization called Al-Qaeda? There's a clear living example of how we are not insulated from the rest of the world, how things can happen to the United States in this country if we are not vigilant and think through these things and stay ahead of these things and take action to prevent these things from occurring. Maybe something would not happen in this country for a couple of years. I don't know. But it's been noted up here that the next president, the next chairman and ranking, the next group of members who will occupy your seats may have to deal with this in a bigger way if we're not paying attention to it now. But the 9/11 anniversary, I think, is a very clear example you can use with your constituents.